amazing day at fmtraining.tv. I'm here with the lovely HOnza, here to discuss how to turn your FileMaker databases into actual apps for iOS systems, which is really cool. Yesterday was actually a lot of fun and had a neat surprise at the end, so I recommend you go back and watch that stream when it comes out if you haven't seen it already. Hello, welcome. Real quick reminder, we stream on 3 platforms. We stream on Discord, we stream on YouTube, and we stream on Twitch. Please talk to us, please interact. Part of the reason we're here is to get feedback, help people improve their understanding of FileMaker, encourage the community. We love hearing from you guys. HOnza himself watches Discord. I watch all 3 of the chats, interact with all of you guys. So if you have questions or concerns or like, hey, this is kind of cool, please talk. We love hearing it. It's great. Let me do the live stream schedule for the rest of this week. It's going to be HOnza. But we're also got next week, so So today is Tuesday, turning FileMaker Databases into Ios apps. We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to be great. We have a lot to cover. It'll be really interesting. Monday and Tuesday of next week will actually be a return of Christian Schmitz using Monkey Bread for FileMaker webhooks. Day 1 and Day 2. That should also be quite interesting, as it always is. If you'd like to support the live stream, we greatly appreciate it. We do this for free 5 days a week, but feel free to pitch in and buy the Complete Learning FileMaker bundle or the Learning FileMaker Video Only training bundle. It's 100+ hours of very dynamic and very entertaining video content. You've seen Richard talk and some of our other presenters talk. It's a lot. So you won't be bored, I promise you that. And it pretty much covers any topic you could want to discuss about learning the basics of FileMaker in and out, and up to intermediate, I think, to advanced level. So with that being said, hello, HOnza. What are we doing today? What have we got on today's plate?
Okay, hello. So today is the second day of turning FileMaker apps or FileMaker databases into iOS and iPadOS apps. And yesterday we had some basics like why we should be doing that and how easy it can be with our Xcode tool. So let me share my screen to dive into today's agenda, because today will be mostly about doing things. So here is my first slide. Sorry, just to remove this
thank you.
thing away from the screen. So before I dive into how to actually start building the app, I have a question for everyone who watched yesterday. Did I convince you that that native app is the best way to deliver FileMaker app on iPad or iPhone? And are you ready to try it on your own? So can you please respond in the chat and so that I know how many of you are ready to try it?
Discord is typing, so give him a couple seconds. Foxy Jack, yes, it was convincing.
Oh,
Moki would like to try. Scott is also typing. I see the rest of you here. You can talk as well. Scott said he was also convinced.
Nice.
Stu, I mean, Mikey, you've already done it, so I guess you don't need any convincing. Gudidi, I would like to try. Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, so that's a good start, wanting to. And the next thing is basically knowing how to do it and doing the first steps. Yesterday, I mentioned that the first thing you have to do is set up a developer account with Apple. And that is the most time-consuming part and can take up to maybe 2 weeks. So I didn't show exactly how to do it yesterday, so I will touch it slightly in the beginning. And I encourage you to start doing that today, even if you don't mind, during the stream or right after it, because what happens is that you fill in a few forms on the Apple's website and then have to wait maybe a week before Apple responds. So while you will be waiting, that can be a good time spent. Because the sooner you do it, the sooner you get the response from Apple. And then during the rest of today's session, I will be showing you how to do the development in an efficient way, how to start building your app. And in the end, I will also show you what exactly you get, what is the IPA, if not a beer, in the case of iOS, and what the structure of the app looks like, so that you understand some of the major um, ideas or major functionalities that you have to deal with. So setting up the Apple developer account and Xcode consists basically of 5 steps, out of which one may be optional or you have already done it. So first thing is, or maybe two. So first thing is to have an Apple ID with two-factor authentication. That's a must. Without that, Apple will not let you to create an Apple developer account. Now, this all starts at appleid.apple.com. So it's this page. You will see it probably in Czech because, oh, okay, so it now shows in English. Crazy. When I went to that page in the morning, it showed me all in Czech, recognizing that I'm in Czech Republic. Probably now it recognizes that I'm talking to an English-speaking audience, so it showed me the page in English. Amazing.
The little nut.
I think Apple has employed some really high-level AI in this case. Anyway, this page is the easiest to create a new Apple ID. And now there is one caveat here. Apple ID should belong to a person, and that's even in the terms. But even Apple, in certain cases, requires you to have multiple Apple IDs, especially if you, for instance, have multiple Apple developer accounts, or it at least have been so. Now you can have multiple accounts on the same Apple ID, but there are still certain services that require additional Apple ID to be created. So it's kind of like not certain whether you should use your personal Apple ID or create a new one which is belonging to the company. My suggestion in this case is, for the Apple developer account, create a dedicated email address if you can, and use that as and create a new Apple ID for your Apple developer account, because it will make certain things going forward easier for you. Once you have the Apple ID, and you can log in with that Apple ID, and you have set up your two-factor authentication, which is required, the next thing here is enrolling in the Apple developer account, which you can do either as an individual or as an organization. And now, as I mentioned yesterday, if you can, avoid joining or enrolling as an individual. There are two main reasons. One is that if you enroll as an individual and you publish your app on the App Store, it will be published under your name, and you have no way to change that. So if your name is Will Smith, it will be published under the name Will Smith. No way to brand it. If you have a legal entity as a company, like LTD, limited liability, or equivalent in other countries, then you should be able to enroll as an organization, and then you can market, you can brand your apps under your company name. And the and the nice thing about it, this extra nice thing about it is you can have a team of people with access to the Apple developer account, and you can control their access rights. And the main difference between the individual and organization is that organization can delegate also app and certificate management rights to other team members, while individual has to do it on his own. So dealing with Xcode and building your apps will require, as an individual, certain extra complexity that you can avoid if you enroll as an organization.
We do have a quick question related to that, actually. David wants to
Okay,
know if he can
go
use
ahead.
like the same email used for personal Apple ID also for organization, or does it
Uh,
recognize that you're an individual with that email?
yes, that's a good question. And I was just briefly checking, and I believe the answer is no. I'm not 100% sure. But when I tried to start the enrollment process with my personal Apple ID, it immediately recognized me as an individual and didn't even let me enter my company name. So I believe that that is another reason to create a new Apple ID, because if the Apple ID is already in Apple's record somehow identified as belonging to individual, it may be more difficult to, or maybe even impossible. But I'm not 100% sure, because since I created all the Apple developer accounts that I somehow was involved in terms of creation, the rules and the procedures have changed at least 3 times. Apple changes the procedures and uh, at least slightly, mostly every year. So it's very difficult to document it step by step, but uh, it's pretty straightforward if you follow the guidelines on the web. You just have to read carefully what they write there. So my suggestion is create a new Apple ID with a new email address, which is dedicated just for this use, and it will make your life easier. The second step is getting a DUNS number. That's Duns and Bradstreet uh, identification number of the organization. Uh, if your company is registered in the US, you most likely already have that, and even if you don't know. So if you go to the Apple developers website, and let me just try with my personal Apple ID to see if that still works, but it may. Okay, so basically, this lets you look up your company by selecting the country, like in the case of RCC, I would enter Richard Carlton Consulting Inc. and go on. And then you have to enter your headquarters address, phone number, your name and phone number and email address. And after filling this form, you will get an email from Duns and Bradstreet, or actually through originally coming from Duns and Bradstreet, but um, directed to you by Apple, and that email will contain your company DUNS number. If your company is not in the database yet, it may take a few days, because they will initiate a registration process and verification process of the company. Basically, what may happen is that they will call the company phone number to verify that the company exists, and after checking the company in the public registry, and then they will create the record in the DUNS database, and that's it. So that's the second step, getting the DUNS number so that you can enroll. And
One of our
as
viewers
you
mentioned having an issue with it. What was your problem with it, Moki? You said you couldn't get the DUNS thing figured out.
Okay, so basically, if you need if you struggle with uh, he wrote to dance as well. Well, that's crazy, and it might require like personal check. I might be able to help. Typically, what is necessary is to have a legal entity. Really, in some countries you can have a company that uh, doesn't have a legal entity in terms of like independent subject. You can have a company. You can have a company name, but still uh, work as an individual and be registered as an individual taxpayer, but and these kinds of companies are unfortunately not recognized by Dun& Bradstreet. But if your company is registered as a legal entity under its name and has a registration number, it should be possible to get it registered. There is one caveat, and that is sometimes the registries have delays when you change a name of the company, or when you buy a company that already have existed. In that case, it may take up to maybe 3 months for them to be able to create the record in the DUNS database. And now I'm a little bit stuck with issue of the M1 Mac on Monterey. I would like to switch back to Keynote, but the app switcher has froze for me.
Is the dock having problems again?
Yes, unfortunately, it typically disappears on its own, but
Can you Command Tab through?
yeah, Command Tab exactly doesn't work, but what does work is Spotlight. So let me try. Okay, so now I try to switch back to Keynote.
The screen is currently black.
Yeah, and I get the spinning wheel here.
Having a moment. That's fine. It happens. While we're sitting here waiting. Oh.
Okay. So now we are back. Great.
Cool.
That's better. So at least we can continue talking about the following steps. So once you start the enrollment process with Apple, which basically you have to fill in the registration. At the beginning, they don't even ask you for money, but once the process, once they assign you enrollment ID, which is like a order identification number, you will receive an email from Apple that you're ready to enroll you as a Apple developer account, and they will ask you for basically proceeding with the rest of the process, where you will enter the payment details and pay for the first year, which is $199 to be exact. And that's it on the Apple side. And once you have the Apple developer account ready, you are ready for the fifth step. But in between, in the meantime, while waiting for Apple to process your application, it's good to get the FileMaker developer subscription as well. You will not need to use it at all. You just have to have it in order to comply with the license agreement, because otherwise, basically using Xcode would be violating the license terms of Claris. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday is I think for the last 3 or 2 years, FileMaker developer subscription is now included in Claris partnerships. So for Claris partners, there is no need to get the FDS on top of that, because it's already included in the partnership fee. And now the last step is signing up for Xcode. It doesn't really have any sense to do it earlier, because as part of the registration, which you can start 2 ways, you have to provide us with your Apple developer team ID. And without that, you will not be able to build your app. So you can create an account, but you will not be able to use it. It's up to you to decide whether you are ready to get the fully functional version and pay for it, or whether you want to register for free. If you want to register for free, you will just enter a few items here in this form. and create a free account. You will receive an email to confirm that your email address is working, and that's basically it. Once you have the account for Xcode, you can log in, and this is what it will look like when you log into the account. And here under my account, that's the point where you can put in the Apple developer account team ID. And team ID is something you get from Apple. So if you go to developer.apple.com under account where you log in, okay, so I need to log out and log in back with existing Apple developer account. So let's do that. Okay, so this one. So when you log in as in your Apple developer account, on a wider window, you have more controls. I slightly prefer the desktop version. So under membership, here you get the team ID, and that's what you need to put in here in Xcode. That way we can pair the Xcode account to your Apple ID, to your Apple developer account. And the other thing that you need to do is to invite Xcode into your team. So again, under the Apple developer account, you go to people. This used to be here. Now it's under App Store Connect. So let's go there. And here under people, you can click plus. It's up to you what you enter in the first name and last name, but it's we suggest you put something like this there, and the email address that you put in is the most important things. So the email address is team@xcode.com. You don't have to remember it because in Xcode there is a help page which tells you exactly what to do. So invite our Apple ID to your team. This is what exactly what I'm just explaining to you. And the main reason is that Xcode as the tool basically connects to your Apple developer account with its own access rights. And by giving the team@xcode.com the admin rights will allow us to create certificates for building apps and sign those apps with those certificates. That's the critical thing that we have to do to be able to fully automate the process. And this is the difference between organization and individual account. Because if you enroll as an individual, there is one thing that you cannot, we will not be able to do within the Xcode account, and that is generating the certificates. So for this process, we will need assistance from you. So if you enroll as an organization, all you need to do is invite Xcode into your team. The beauty of this is you can, if you stop trusting us, or if you want to temporarily suspend Xcode, you can simply go to the settings and change the access rights, and you have 100% control over your account. So there's no risk in doing that, and you keep the control. You don't share anything private with us. You just invite us into your team and let us build your apps. So that's what's happening in here. And basically, we don't do anything as humans. It's all automated. So the user that will be accessing your account is our automated script that runs Xcode on the backend and builds your apps. So, and one thing I forgot to mention, this pairing process is manual. So once you enter the data here in Xcode, that will notify our team that you has provided us with the information, and it typically takes between 1 and 2 business days for us to finish the setup process. So it's not like put in there and start building your app, but you have to wait a little bit, day or two, before you will finally be able to build your apps. But that's just the beginning, just the initial setup that you need to go through. And once that's done, it's fully automated. So, any questions before
I
I
was just
go
about to
there?
ask. I don't see anyone. A quick reminder, people, type in questions, please. We'll answer them as we go along. Everyone following along? Anyone get lost? Are we all good?
Okay, so if you are still following us, the good news is that all the most difficult or complicated stuff is behind us.
Well, there you go.
So let's go on. Of course, before you start building your apps, you have to develop them in FileMaker. And you probably already do this, but let me just emphasize that for mobile apps, it's even more important. Develop on the server. Don't do it in FileMaker Pro locally. Just as soon as you can, put the database on FileMaker server, because the main benefit you get is not only that you get automated backups, but it's very easy to fine-tune and check what the app looks like and how it behaves on the fly on the device. So here, just as an example, this app that I created just for fun, and which I'm now trying to get to the App Store. I have created 3 layouts for iPhone and iPad. And just as a last-minute decision, I decided that I will name it Solver. I originally named it Wordle Solver, so I didn't want to make the change the app name. So here I'm on the iPhone connecting to the server, opening the app, the FileMaker database in FileMaker Go, and now I'm going to change the name in the layouts so that it spells the way I want it. So I will change it here in the header of the layout on all the 3 layouts. Okay, and I have 2 more layouts here. One is just a development layout, and there is one extra that I used to create an icon for the app. So I even used FileMaker to create an icon. Isn't that cool? So as you can
It's
see,
incredibly cool.
I immediately see the change on the iPhone because I'm developing on the server. So whatever I change in FileMaker Pro immediately applies to the iPhone. So that's a great way how to develop for iPhone or iPad, because you can immediately see the changes on the device. This is the layout which is designed for the landscape view. So as a reminder, develop on the FileMaker server, have FileMaker Go ready on iPhone or iPad just beside your computer, and whatever you change in FileMaker, you can immediately test it on the device.
It's immediately updated.
Yes, exactly. Just like FileMaker, if that's the nature of FileMaker, and that's the beauty of FileMaker that almost no other platform has. Whatever you change from one side, every client connected to the server gets that update.
Which is one of the best things about it, as long as you commit the record at
Okay,
least.
so
Even if it's compiled iOS IPA.
Okay, so I will get to that slightly today and in the most detail on Thursday. So make sure to connect on Thursday as well. But right now, this was in FileMaker Go. Uh, and unless you need to use plugins, FileMaker Go for the development and debugging and testing is the best way to do it. Because you don't have to worry about the user experience. You are the developer, you are the tester. It doesn't matter how you open the app. What does matter is what it looks like, how it behaves. And because the compiled iOS app is actually using the FileMaker native FileMaker engine, the behavior will be almost exactly the same. There is the only difference is that when you use calculation functions like get application version, you will get a different string as a result. But otherwise, it's the compiled app will be full-featured FileMaker Go. So if it works in FileMaker Go, it will work in the compiled app as well. But if you are going to use plugins, or if you, for any reason, want to test it in the compiled app, I will show you how to do it in the end of the day. So let me go to the next step, and that's actually building the app. And that's another beauty of developing on server. So after I have made the changes, I just close the database. And because I have I'll tell you, I even have the FileMaker server running on the same computer. On my computer, I have FileMaker server installed, and I use it when I develop. So I have the server set to perform progressive backups every 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is a short enough time just to go to a bathroom or make a coffee. So I don't even bother to close the database on the server to get the fresh copy. I simply close it after making changes and wait a few minutes for the next progressive backup to appear. As soon as the progressive backup appears, I just copy the database from the progressive backup to a folder where I have the latest version ready for distribution. So that's the first step to start building the app. Now, the next one is I go to, okay, just to show you, this is really the app, and it has the solver name changed, so it's the right version. So now I go to the Xcode interface. Okay, and now I create a new build. And as I mentioned yesterday, you might have already seen it in the video on the Xcode website. It's just a few steps. You drag and drop the database to the form. You can drag and drop multiple files there, and then just select one which is the primary one. And you need to fill in a few fields here. So let me pause it for a moment. Name of the app. That's what the app will look like. What the app will be named under the icon on the desktop of your device. So this is quite important to think about. Make sure that the name is not too long because it doesn't look well. Single word or maximum 2 words. I believe 13 letters is the magical limit for app name to look well on the device. So think about it well. You can change it later, but it's good to think about it early in the process. Bundle ID is something that identifies the app to the Apple and to the developer to the operating system. Apple by convention, suggest using a reverse domain name notation, which means like if you have a website that ends with a com domain, just reverse the order of the components of the domain name and put it there. So this way you almost reliably ensure that the bundle ID that you choose will be unique, will not be already used by someone else. So that's a good practice. The bundle ID has some limitation that it cannot have certain characters in it and so on. Version number is quite important, especially when you distribute the app on the App Store, just like build number. Build number is assigned automatically by Xcode. Version number, the way it works is that Apple expects version number to be increasing over time. So if you try to release version, let's say version 2.0, you will then have trouble releasing version 1 point something because that's a low number. So it should be increasing over time. Also, this needs to be just numbers and dots. Adding letters and other things like V1 or B1, B2 into the version number is something that Apple doesn't like in the App Store. The nice thing here is you can also choose the version of the Ios App Sdk. So if you have a need to build your app with the older version of the SDK, you can choose as old version as 16.01. The only disadvantage is that you won't be able to publish it on the App Store because App Store only accepts applications which are compatible with the latest iOS version. But you can see which iOS versions are supported by that SDK version, which is very handy. So in my case, to make the app compatible with iOS 13 as well, the latest SDK version that I can use is 19.3.1. So I choose that one. And here I choose the developer profile. That's what I talked about yesterday, how I want to distribute the app. And before submitting it on the App Store, it's always necessary to have at least one ad hoc build. Because when you create an ad hoc build, Xcode in the backend also creates an app ID in your Apple developer account, which otherwise you would have to do manually, and that's a little bit complicated. So it's good. It's a good idea to start by building ad hoc build first, even if you don't need it. But it's good to have it for testing anyway. So you probably do want to have ad hoc build before you create an App Store build anyway. Now, this checkbox is what I mentioned about compliance with the license terms for Claris. So basically, this is what we agreed on with Claris, that if we have this checkbox and let you confirm that you have FileMaker Developer subscription, that then we can use the SDK to build the app for you. And these are a few things that basically Apple will use. I am not sure why the help URL is needed even for ad hoc build, but it is. Encryption password is something that is needed if your FileMaker database is encrypted at rest. But for building the app for the App Store, it's probably not so important. There are cases where you want to have it encrypted at rest by FileMaker, but it will be encrypted by the OS as well. So So it's just a matter of when you are scared that the FileMaker database might get copied from the device manually over cable, and you don't want that to be copied without being encrypted. That's when you would want to use the encryption at rest even for the iOS app. And the next thing here, reset solution files on. This is quite interesting thing. I will explain it a little bit later when I show you what the structure of the app is and how it works. Basically, you have these four options, and if you for instance if you here select always, what that means is if you open the app and make any changes in your database after you close the app and relaunch it, it will be fresh, like if you have not made any changes. So it will always reset. If you use the default, that means that it will reset only when you reinstall it, but every time you reinstall it, not only if version has changed. That's the default, but you can make your choice, and I will show you why you might want to use different options here. Now the checkboxes here are self-explanatory. You basically tell Apple and iOS which orientations and devices the app should be working on. And the benefit here is if, for instance, you don't want to design a landscape layout, you just disable landscape and the app will not rotate, and you will not end up having your portrait layout off screen, which is very handy. The last thing that you need is 3 images. Xcode will tell you what the image sizes are supposed to be. So under this help, you will see the image size. And one is for the icon. Obscure icon, that's what appears when you switch between apps and the app is no longer supposed to show you the contents. And this launch image is what appears when you launch the app before it can actually before it's ready to show the database content. So that's it, and after hitting start building, you just let our backend to build your app. It may take several minutes depending on how big your app is and how big traffic, how many people are just building the apps at the same time. But usually it does not take more than 10 minutes and only rarely more than 15. In small apps, when there's light traffic, when the backend is completely idle, can be built in less than 5 minutes.
We do have a quick question. What is the URL schema reference purpose? Is that for the CSS association?
Oh, okay. Let me go back. I forgot to explain that. It's here. Basically, every app on iOS can have URL scheme defined. Like Safari typically has HTTP and HTTPS, and FileMaker Go has the FileMaker has FMP and maybe FMP script, if I recall correctly. So basically that's a URL which you can use in a different app, even in email. And when you tap that URL, it will bring it will send it to the app to open. In FileMaker Go has the FMP. So if you use FMP colon something, it will open FileMaker Go. you don't have to have it, but we decided that it's better to define it always. So because it doesn't behave 100% well during the building process, it might be more difficult to build the app without having URL scheme, and some things may not work as intended. So it's good to have one always when you build an app, and it's important to have it different than FMP, because if you put FMP here, you might get in trouble conflicting with FileMaker Go. So typically it should be something derived from the application name, which you think that will be unique and no one else will use it as a URL scheme. And it can be useful that you can then open the app by having a link in email, and you can use the linking to run scripts if you enable that via privileges and so on. If you are not familiar with the FileMaker URL scheme, you can, I think, find it in the help very easily. And this is the page. So you will just replace this FMP with whatever you define in the Xcode interface. Okay, so that's the process of building the app. And now how how to distribute the app. I already mentioned that yesterday, but this is just a brief overview of the different distribution methods, just to remind you that you can choose between them. For App Store and Apple Business Manager, you always choose the App Store in Xcode. Test flight as well. So basically, ad hoc is the only one that has a different option in Xcode. For all the other three, you choose App Store distribution profile, and within the App Store Connect on the Apple side, you choose whether you invite someone to test flight, which I will be showing tomorrow, and also how you submit the app for Apple's review to publish it on either the public App Store or the Apple Business Manager. Any questions so far?
Or about this specifically? No. We have a question I want to circle back to, but it's kind of off topic for now, so you should probably keep going.
Okay, so this is the agenda for tomorrow, but before going there, I have a few things to show you, and that's specifically what you get when you build the app, what the IPA is, what it looks like inside, and a little bit about how iOS app built with the Ios App Sdk works. Okay, so here's the app that I installed from the test flight yesterday straight on my Mac. So it's installed on the Mac, but it's iOS app installed on M1 Mac. But what I want to show you is the content. So the app has a wrapper, and that contains the actual app here, which has many components. These are like texts of different languages, the user interface, the icon, but the important thing here is solution files. It has a copy of WordleServer.fmp12. This is a read-only part because the whole app here, this is locked. It cannot be modified, because if you modify it, what the operating system will tell you is that it has been tampered with, and you should not be. It will not let you use it because that would be potential risk of a virus or malware. This is a real working app, so I can run it. I can do anything with it. Now, the key point is, as I mentioned, when you create a build in Xcode and you select what happens with the app here, reset solution files on, build version change always once, and version change. What actually happens when you run the app for the first time is that it creates copy of whatever is in the solution files here and creates it outside of the app so that it's modifiable. On the Mac, it creates it in a hard to find location, but I can find it in a nice way. When the app is running, I will just list all open files and filter it by the URL name. It will take a while, but in the end, it will show me where the read-write version of the file is. So here's the folder. And this is the copy of the file which the app actually works with. And to show you what happens is that if I quit the app, open this file in FileMaker and modify it, like, let's say, make this pink, okay? And close it. Now, when I start the app again, you will see that it's pink. So I can actually modify the app on the fly, even though it's a compiled app. And the reason is that the app is really a copy of FileMaker Go. It's full-featured FileMaker client. It just works with the file, which when I compile it, when I build the app, it includes the FileMaker file inside the app. But that's just a repository where it takes it from. But to work with it, make it modifiable so that you can enter data, it copies the file into modifiable space. In this case, it's a container within my hard drive. In the case of iOS, every app has access to documents, and there its own documents folder, and that documents folder is accessible even through iTunes on the older computer models, or through, and I'm now looking for a USB to put in to connect my iPhone so that I can show you. Every app has its own documents folder, and there is the copy. So basically, depending on what you select in that option, this is just telling the app when it will again take the original file from the locked space and copy it to the documents folder, overwriting whatever is there. Another nice thing is it only overwrites files which have the same name. If you create additional file, like from the FileMaker file, if you create text files using exports, or if you even export another FileMaker file from a container to the documents folder, it will stay there, and it will stay there even if you update the app from the App Store. If you reinstall it, until you completely delete the app from the device, whatever files you create there will stay there, unless the new version contains equally named files, FileMaker files, in the solution files folder. Now I have connected my iPhone to the computer, so hopefully it will appear here in Finder. Okay, Finder, new Finder window. I have my iPhone here. It's loading, and there should be apps somewhere. Wait a minute, movies, files here. So under files, I can go to solver. You see it here, and there is the file. So here, this is the modifiable version of the file, and I can just take it there. I can take the modified version. Where did I have it? Documents here, and I can even copy it to my iPhone with the pink background. Sorry again. Yeah. So I can put it there. And now let's try to, okay, Reflector doesn't seem to be working the way I want. So let's try the built-in version. Can you see my iPhone screen now?
Yes, actually.
Okay, great. So let me run the solver here. And here you see the pink background. So what you see now is that I have the build app installed on my iPhone since yesterday. And I have just modified it just by replacing that FileMaker file within the files repository without having to reinstall the app. And that is how a FileMaker app can be updated even without going through the Apple's process. Now, this is what the structure of an iOS app looks like, and how FileMaker app built with Ios App Sdk works. There is a question. IPA will work on M1 Macs without FileMaker. Yes, correct. This here is an app that I built, and it's a full-featured FileMaker. Now, there is one more thing I wanted to show you just quickly, and because we are running out of time, we have just a little moment. Give me a sec.
And then after you do this, I do have one question I want to ask, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, doc is not working again
Okay.
for me. Sorry. Okay, so I will have to leave it for tomorrow. So let's make it the first thing to show tomorrow. At least you have a reason to come again. What I will show you how to actually use a build app on iPhone or M1 Mac and connect to FileMaker server from it.
Okay. Which will be awesome. So I'm going to ask two questions real quick, and then we'll let you go. The first one is from Shiegel. People were a little bit confused about why you were using FileMaker server to run testing. So the one is from Shiegel is this app running from the server, and it'll work as a compiled app, ? So you want to go over real quick what you were doing way earlier in the session?
Okay, so this app now is running standalone. This is not connecting to FileMaker server. The one on the iPhone was also standalone. The reason I was using FileMaker server for development is to be able to see any changes on the fly, because otherwise, after making changes, I would have to go through a process of either building the app or copying it to the device and opening in there. And if I have to apply this step after every change, it's basically too time consuming. If I can have the app connected, like open from the server, I can see every change immediately. So it's a time saver. So even if you are building an app that will run standalone, offline, without internet for development, it's good to use FileMaker server because you're saving time. That's it.
And then can you run the can the app run from the server but also be installed as a separate app? Or is that not possible?
Sorry again. Didn't quite get it.
Asking, can the app run from the server but also be an installed app?
Yes. Basically, the install again in the what the installed app contains is full-featured FileMaker client. It's full-featured FileMaker Go. So if that file that you put in there, if that file is just like opener, if it's a empty file with a startup script that doesn't have anything but open file scripts tab that opens a remote file from a server, then what happens is you run the app and the first thing it does is connecting to the server. And that's what I'm going to show as the first thing tomorrow.
Yep. Okay, so that'll be the thing to come back for, Shiegel. And then 2 more questions and I will let you go. People are asking at the last minute. Ekelburn, can you prevent modifications through removing the administrator permissions and developer utilities?
Sorry again, what the question is?
No, you're good. I asked it a bit fast.
Yeah.
Can you prevent modifications by removing the administrator permissions and developer utilities?
Yes, definitely. It's just regular FileMaker files. So whatever security measures apply to FileMaker files will apply to the build apps as well. There is one extra thing and that is, as you saw that I was able to connect my iPhone and access the file from through Finder. This is something that you can also disable when building the app. Basically, there is an option that it's not a checkbox here, but if you go to advanced options here, there is a additional settings field where you just put in a small XML which we can advise. I don't know from top of my head what exactly the syntax is, but that way you can tell iOS that this app doesn't allow access to its files through the cable, and then it will not appear in the window, and you won't be able to modify it this way. It's important to mention this only applies to regular iOS. If someone installs the app on a jailbroken phone, then they will obviously have full access to everything anyway. So again, the standard FileMaker security measures apply. If you want to prevent modifications, do that through developer tools or by setting strong enough full access username and password. If you want to prevent even opening that file without without your permission, enable the encryption at rest, and only the app will be able to open it, or someone who has the encryption key. Not to mention that if you have encryption at rest enabled and you provide the password here in this field, the password itself will be hashed or encrypted within the app, so it will be nearly impossible to extract it from the app. But the app will be able to open your database without asking for the encryption key.
There you go, Ekelburn. I hope that answered your question. And then last one. If you add features to a solution, how can you get the data from each person's copy on their device into the new version?
Okay, well, that's...
I figure that's like a conversation for later, but what day are we talking about?
That's question similar to what we got asked yesterday about synchronization. Basically, it's up to you how you design the app and how you design the process. If the app connects to your FileMaker server, then you know how to get the data. If you don't connect to FileMaker server, you have to find a different way. And one of the ways is synchronization. Another way is using exports, sending that data by email or whatever method you choose. It depends on depends on what kind of data you want to transfer, what is the amount of data, how you transfer them. One app that we have on the App Store and that we are deploying, that we have deployed in Africa, uses synchronization, and in that particular case, we even had to make it extremely reliable, even in very poor connection, like internet in Africa. That's like internet we knew 15 years ago, before smartphones. So even that is possible. It's just extra effort to make it work.
Okay. In that case, I think that's all questions answered. Thank you so much, HOnza. This was fantastic. Tomorrow will also be great, I have no doubt. So, but I'm going to run the music for now.
Okay, it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
And hope to see you all tomorrow. And don't forget to start your Apple developer account enrollment today, so that you have your account soon.
Yeah, and then you guys can ask us questions. Okay.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!